It's 7:40. Let's do this. Good evening, Hampton Roads. Good evening, Northeast North Carolina. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of WTKR News 3 Television, and you are watching First Warning Live, where we're going to explore and examine what are the possible impacts of Hurricane Erin here locally. This is sponsored by Marco's Pizza, which when we talk about Marco's Pizza, we were talking about last night, we're giving away some free pizza. And I just wanted to mention them out front and up front because we're maybe going to be moving through a 2-day period where things get a little more stressful and you're looking for something to eat. Marcos.com is a great place to go, but you could also go to our webpage, which is WTKR.com. Marco's 5 locations are participating in this contest. We'll be doing this on Thursday, but I wanted to get this out there. So if you're hungry and you're looking for a Pozzoli that's virtually half the price, just use the promo code WTKR David, and they will be able to assist you and serve you any way they can. Marco's is also a big fan of weather, so I'm going to get to that here in a moment. Pizza for a Year certificate will be awarded out on Thursday with one large, one topping pizza for a year. We use this as illustration of what the winners get in their mailbox, which is cool. And a Pozzoli or a Pepperoni Magnifico might be something that would be appealing to you. Check them out. I do know that they're big fans of weather and they want to thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can check them out if you have not tried Marco's. All right, let me get to the forecast. There have been a couple of things that have been coming at me as I try to plan and help the newsroom plan what's going to be happening over the next couple of days, which of course is Erin. And when we talk about Erin, we talk about First Warning Live. We talked about this last night with our good friend and director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Michael Brennan. One thing that I cannot ignore is the pink elephant in the room. We've had some very heavy rain today in parts, but probably no worse has been the eastern shore. So if there's a criticism that's fair to lodge at me, a lot of this happened this morning. And I can tell you it's still raining right now in Exmoor, but if you look at some of the estimates, just from the colors, what jumps out at you may not be the 2 inches in Matthews County, it's the eastern shore. It may not be the 3.7 inches of rain, maybe in parts of maybe Surrey County or even Isle of Wight, 4.7, but might just jump out at you is this little blob here that's in purple and red. And that suggests anywhere from 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 inches of rain where there were some real issues. And I want to give a shout out to Linda Ross, bringing this to my attention because a lot of this happened maybe when I was still in bed. See, one of the people forget is I do the 11 o'clock news, right? So I work in the PM hours. But your point is well made. And this is where the neighborhoods come into play, right? When we were talking to Dr. Michael Brennan, we got to pull together. So when you have like 3 minutes to go on television and get all the stuff out there for Erin and the current weather, sometimes the time disappears. So it's not like you've been forgotten. I wanted to recognize you first, Linda Ross, if you are in this area around Exmoor. And I know I've been to the diner, it's a great place, but 13, some areas did get shut down. There were reports of street flooding and Nassauatics relayed by the 9/11 Center. So I'm not trying to dismiss anything, but like I said, I'm a work in progress. I am not a finished product here, been here 6 months. I want to make sure that we get you and everyone who lives on the Eastern Shore the information that you need. Clearly these bans are still coming on, and really this is just the beginning. As bad as it could be, and it will be bad at times, I will say this, let me come back on here for a second. So if you think about it, if today for you, if you're in the Eastern Shore, it was very bad, but it's likely to get worse Wednesday and Thursday, okay? So whatever degree, if you said, well, it wasn't bad or it wasn't good, depending on how much rain you received today, it's only gonna get horrible as we head toward Thursday. And maybe the reaction will be you gotta be kidding me. Is this what we're getting? We're gonna be getting a lot of flooding, dangerous surf. People are going to get irritated. Maybe they're already irritated. And maybe they're irritated at the weather guy or that's possible. But I just want to make sure that we're having this conversation. This is the platform to do it. You want to vent? I'll put the comments on the screen. I did get a comment last night that came in afterwards. I wanted to share it with you. It's from Catherine. She said, yes. I'm going to go ahead and circle what her comment, these are her words. She said, yes, we may have flooding and high winds. Her comment was worst in Virginia Beach in North Carolina, but let's pray everybody stays safe and listens to the authorities when they say evacuate. Better safe than sorry. As far as I know, the only 2 evacuations right now came from Ocracoke and Hatteras. And those 2 areas really are going to be battered. Those areas are going to hit hard in the coming hours and days. I think the winds are going to really kick in after midnight tomorrow night. But we're going to have some effects as early as tonight into tomorrow morning, especially down toward the Outer Banks, because this storm is working its way in that direction. So hopefully I'll keep moving, but I want to get all this covered. You can see we're still dealing with showers around Chowan County, maybe not far from Gatesville, approaching Ahoskie, and it looks like it's trying to push in from east to northwest. So it's kind of like moving in and out of town. Now, I did want to share some information. If you missed the interview that we had yesterday evening with Dr. Michael Brennan from the National Hurricane Center, he had said something I thought was, I had to watch it a second time, but he used the words deepening rate. I think the true buzzwords right now on media and social media has been rapid intensification, because these storms have to rapidly intensify to reach a Category 4 or Category 5. But what's remarkable is that Erin has now been marked as third place in the Atlantic in recorded history. It dropped 83 millibars in 24 hours. Now, what's a millibar? It's a unit of measure to measure pressure, but Wilma dropped 97 millibars in 2005 and then did another recycle, or rapid intensification of 90 second time. So Wilma, the same storm that hit Florida in 2005, is number 1, number 2, but Erin comes in at number 3. I thought that was interesting. I thought maybe some of you might find that. If you're a weather nerd like me, that's great information, interesting information to know, and it's why the weather community was up in arms, very surprised. Now, here's something that you're probably not going to get as graphical as I could do here. I wanted to just show you 2 arrows. Now, there's not much of an eye associated with what is now a Category 2 storm. This Erin is a Category 2 storm, so it's no longer a major hurricane. But don't let your guard down to think, oh, if it's only a 2, we'll be fine. Hold the phone, because 80 miles out from the center is where we have what? We have hurricane force winds. But if you go out 230 miles out, now you're talking tropical storm force winds. Now this is probably coming into focus. Why do we not want to focus only on the cone? Because the fact 230, that's roughly the distance between Norfolk and Roanoke. Have you ever driven to Virginia Tech? That's about 240 miles, so it's pretty close. The same distance from Norfolk to Roanoke, every area in between would be experiencing tropical storm force winds. So a little bit of a jog, a little bit of a deviation, then this storm could be coming closer to us, and it could have far-reaching impacts. Far greater impacts than what hit the Eastern Shore today. And that's a bold statement. That was a lot of rain that you got. If you got 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, some of those amounts might be a little bit over-exaggerated, but that is certainly a lot of rain, several months worth in just a short period of time. Now, this picture is pretty chilling because, I mean, you don't need me to explain it. There's Virginia Beach, and there's Erin, and there's Hamilton, as in Bermuda, and over here the Bahamas. So we're just about 615 miles from Hatteras. This storm, the center of it is about 615 miles from Cape Hatteras, which means the weather is going to go downhill. The weather's going to go downhill tomorrow, and it's going to get even worse on Thursday. So whatever your benchmark is, today was really, really bad for the Eastern Shore, and it was maybe bad and maybe not as bad in some other parts of Hampton Roads. But you got to take this into consideration. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse, and then it might get to the point where it reaches that fever pitch where we get a tremendous amount of wind Thursday morning, and then we get a whole bunch of flooding Thursday afternoon and night. Because what may happen with these northeasterly winds, you're going to get all that sound flooding. You're going to basically get a lot of flooding coming in from the northeast. It's going to really pound the islands like Hatteras and Ocracoke in the days to come. Now, let me bring you up to speed. We now have upgraded, I didn't say we, but the National Weather Service Hurricane Center has now upgraded this to a tropical storm warning from Duck down toward Manio, down toward Kill Devil Hills, Nags Head, Hatteras, and all the way down to Morehead City. So when this goes into effect, that means, what is the definition of a tropical storm? It's 30, well, I'll just put it in there. It's 39, right, to 73. That's, we had this discussion in the Weather Center, myself and Tony Nargi. It was like, that's a pretty big range, right? If you play football, those are the pretty big uprights. Well, if you got a 40-mile-an-hour gust, I guess you verified. What if you got a 72? Well, it's still a tropical storm. But my question is, how close does it have to get to Hatteras for people to take it seriously? And I hope it doesn't have to get that close. I hope that we'll be able to get people to respond accordingly. Clearly, the evacuations that have been underway, you need to be where you need to be. But I want to make sure that everybody is taking these precautions, because if your behavior stays the same, you don't do anything differently, and you get caught flat-footed. We talked about this with Dr. Michael Brennan last night. So if you have a conscious decision, you're going to drive through standing water, somebody has to come rescue you. And we want you to be proactive and know that if it's going to get bad, we're going to have some issues down the road. I see a note from Judy. Let me see if she's on here. She's on here. Yep, she's talking about Isabel was 2003. Yeah, Isabel was 2003. Floyd hit Franklin really hard in 1999, and Hazel 1954, and I believe Irene 2011. We could throw in Matthew in there too. So there were a lot of storms that probably trigger people when they have to think about what it was like. I got a note from Becky. I want to say hi to Becky. She says, is the rain truly going to miss most of Virginia Beach? It may not be so much the rain that falls from the sky as it is the storm surge. Becky, I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to show you some of the modeling about how much rain we could project. But these rain bands, we think about tropical moisture, doesn't light up the radar like convective storms that come in from the west, meaning like the raindrops would appear like they're much finer, smaller, so they don't bring back the bright returns of red and purple like that's intense rain. But it rains hard and fast, and it can pile up much like an eastern shore did today. It really is that type. That's what's on the line. Some of the bands, if they do come on shore, you're talking about tidal flooding, coastal flooding, all the rest. So let me get back to the maps. We want to show you what we're talking about. The sounds in the rivers, 1 to 3 feet. Outer banks, roughly about 2 to 4 feet. So the storm surge warning will affect places like Duck, Nags Head, all the way down through Hatteras and Ocracoke, and additional, if you have family down in Morehead City, those areas also will be hit hard. So we got to take that into consideration. Again, the main concern with winds will be the potential for sound side flooding on a north-northeast wind. So when you're looking at a north-northeast wind, some people are like, where's the flooding going? It's coming in like hard and fast, like this, right, from the north and northeast. So this is why the sound side flooding, a terminology that I was not accustomed to when I worked in Knoxville, but having read and understood a lot what the Morehead and Newport National Weather Service is discussing, this could get ugly for these communities. So you really have to take it seriously. Storm surge could be well above, we're talking anywhere from the inundation above ground level in low-lying areas, near shorelines, tidal waterways could be easily 1 to 3 feet or more. So it's very important that you make the necessary precautions. If you're in Ghent, for example, you know you flood. If this is something that you just know happens to you, then you should be prepared, right? Ghent, we can get a ½ inch to an inch, and that's just outside the station here in Norfolk, where WTKR has been for 75 years. We know it typically we see water, but a little bit of rain, and then you throw in all the rest of the dynamics associated with a hurricane off the coast, it can be a bit frightening. But anyway, look at this. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that 8 to 12 is when this thing's really going to reach its climax. It's going to peak with a big crescendo on Thursday. So tomorrow's not a picnic, right? And Thursday's really bad. And Friday, even though the sun's out, we got cleanup, we got 6 to 9 feet, and rip currents are still high. You might even have to wait till Sunday or thereafter to have the cleanup, because we've already heard from our neighborhood reporter, Will Thomas. Will Thomas is down there. He's boots on the ground. He's seen already the overwash that's affecting North Carolina 12. So basically some of the roads are going to be impassable if they're not already. That's why it's so important that you take the necessary precautions. Got a couple of comments that might be coming in. Josh was talking about lake. Oh, yeah. So some of our streets turn into lakes. Sometimes it's what happens. I see a note from Judy. She says, "I'll never forget my house is flooded." Well, let me reassure you, Judy, as bad as this might be, and it might very well exceed the expectations, the way it's been sold, because the cone, when I came to Norfolk, I think I've told you this, many of you who've watched these episodes, I came to Norfolk for the first time to present a paper on weather languages, kind of like a play off love languages, that it's not just what you say that gets you into trouble, it's how it's understood. And there's never a better time to point that out than tonight, because some of you are thinking, I've seen those little spaghetti noodles, they go out to sea, it'll be fine. You think like that, you're going to get burned by that, because this doesn't look fine to me. 8 to 12. 6 to 9, and tomorrow 5 to 7. So we're still going to find a lot of surf. You got to get people who might put themselves in danger because they want to ride on a surfboard. You really got to keep each other accountable, look out after each other, because we're all we got, right? We got to look out after each other. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Let me keep moving. It's now 7:55. Coastal flood watch update from the National Weather Service starts tomorrow, Thursday afternoon to Friday afternoon. So we're going to be concerned. You notice it's not tomorrow. This is, again, key here to put the times on here. This is Thursday afternoon. So when you're dealing with coastal flooding, this is a watch. Means that conditions will be favorable, maybe not in the next day, but it might be within the next 2 days into Friday afternoon. So even though the storm's gone, we still have to watch this for the potential 1 to 3 feet of inundation above ground level in the low-lying areas that are near shorelines and tidal waterways. Now, we already have seen, we've already looked at, we've already examined. For those of you who are joining us late, we saw that there was 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 or 10 inches of rain near Exmoor and areas on the eastern shore. And our heart breaks for you because I know that's a lot of water at once. But officially in these rain gauges, it looks like Portsmouth's had about a ½ inch, Hampton about 1/3 of an inch, Norfolk's had about a ½ inch today, at least at the airport, and they've even had to postpone the Norfolk Tides baseball game today. Now, Wallops Island is just 1 point. It's just one rain gauge at a particular point. They've measured 1.04 today, but clearly much, much more has occurred there. I love this map because this is why we see the cone the way it does, right? It stays out to sea, but one of the things you will notice quickly is that even though this is out here, people think, well, it's not a direct hit, so it's life is normal, let's carry on. But the problem is, if we were to take this full screen, so I'm going to go back and put this on a full screen. I'd love to be able to just take a little measurement tool and ask you, how far is Hatteras from that first line? About 100 miles, right? What if this thing is like, I don't know, come back on screen here for a second. What if this is like off 50 miles? What if, like when we do these polls, do you like this or that, and the margin of error, like when you take a survey, there's always a margin of error of 2 points or 5 points. What if it's off 50 miles? What if this is not actually 100? What if it's a little bit closer? It wouldn't take 25, 30 miles. Moves a little bit further west. It does a little jog, and then it's suddenly like, man, I didn't know it was going to be that bad. Can I just tell you a little bit about the weather community? You tell a weather person, man, I didn't know it was going to be that bad. You know what? We keep always saying, when it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. When it's this humid, it's like pouring out I do it all the time because it's been so sticky. But if you get an event like this and you're flat-footed, maybe you could have that. Maybe you're not informed because you're not looking at the weather. But if you're weather savvy and you've been in tune with the forecast, either by phone or WTKR.com or watching our newscast, know that there could be a little bit of variation here. So I just point that out because I'm about to show you the maps and how the data would suggest it playing out even as I speak. And I'm looking at comments too, so I'm going to keep juggling both at this same time. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this off. We'll erase that, but that's about 100 miles from Hatteras. So the latest official hurricane forecast from the Hurricane Center brings it this close, right? And this is suggesting 39 plus. But as I said to you a moment ago, the definition of a tropical storm is 39 to 73. That's a heck of a range. Do you not agree? That's a big range. It's like, somebody might just pick one. Is it going to be 60 or is it going to be like 42? And once it pulls away, we're still going to have a lot of cleanup. I think a lot of cleanup. Now, this wind forecast is covering just minimum of tropical storm force winds. So you see that at the top, says chance of 39 plus. We'll zoom in a little bit tighter so you can get a sense it's greater than 10. It's probably closer to 10, 20, 30, or 40. I think that's at a minimum. Again, these are probably conservative estimates that you're looking at. But notice it is not a factor for maybe, say, Franklin, right? It's not a factor if you're in other parts of North Carolina. But we're certainly going to find this little inflection point where the storm turns, but it could really do some damage in that turning off to the north and to the east. Does that make sense? I hope so. But this is probably where I want to stop and get some questions. This is when it's likely to get gnarly. We're talking midnight tomorrow night. That's 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Look at Hatteras. That's 11 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. This is, 64? That's still within tropical storm force. But what if that was 68? What if it was 72? Let's say it's 72 here, maybe a few miles. There'll be people measuring it, I'm sure. But it would be significantly less than the gust of wind that we get in Virginia Beach. I hope that is more succinct. Let's see here. I got a note from Alexis. Let me get back on camera here. I'm going to clear my telestrator so that we can get this conversation going here. She's on here and wants to say hi. She says, Alexis Martinez, good to see you. She said, are there any issues for Hampton to be expected? We're all going to feel the coastal flooding if you're in a low-lying area. I mean, I'm sure there's different parts of Hampton that are more susceptible to flooding. If you've been here a while, definitely you'll probably know where the flooded-prone areas are. We kind of know that here in Norfolk. But these are the things that you should be checking with your neighbors. Hey, you lived here a while. Is there, do you typically see this? If you're new to the area, maybe you've come in from Ohio, maybe you've come in from Kentucky and you've not had the experience of dealing with hurricane weather. Maybe you don't know the evacuation route or where you can get an emergency kit. One of the things you could probably start yourself, having some water on hand, some protein bars, some snacks, and may I even suggest some Marco's Pizza. So you could do some things that will get you ready for a storm that's going to be pretty ugly. Now, by the time we get to Thursday afternoon, evening, the flooding could be an issue. But even still, even though the sun is out Friday, look at these winds. They don't go to sleep. They're still busy, right? In the departing of the storm, the winds are going to still be pretty strong on Friday afternoon, even though the cleanup will probably be already underway. And we've already heard estimates from our neighborhood news reporter, Will Thomas, that the NC-12 is probably going to still be closed. It's going to take a couple of days for them to get back to normal. Here's another look. And again, this Outer Banks number here is an average. So if you were to take an average of Manteo, Wanchese, maybe Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills, you could see that these winds are just 54. Well, 54 is better than 65. I would agree. But if you're in inland Virginia, you're like, it was overblown. It was not a big deal. Maybe not in terms of wind for you, because again, this is mainly a coastal event. So I just want to emphasize, many people are here, as I come back on camera, many people are here trying to get that week's vacation in before school starts. Maybe it's not school for you, but there could be people who start school later in August. It's one of those opportunities where people are trying to squeeze out as much of the vacation time as they can. We just want you to be informed. And we want you to be prepared to take care of yourself and have an alternative plan. If your plans are not flexible, I'm asking you to make flexible plans. I hope that makes some sense. Getting back to these wind speeds, again, this is representative of 6 a.m. Thursday. I'll take you through 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock in the afternoon Thursday. There's that purple. Like I said, how many miles does it have to scooty scoot from east to west before someone says, man, I didn't know it was going to be this bad? It could be. I'm here to tell you. I've told you a lot of things. You know what I also told you? How many of you, if you watch me regularly, I said by the 19th of August, that's today, that we're going to see a big cool down. And I might be off. I said 19th or 20th. We're going to show you the last week of August into Labor Day looks like really cool. Like we might have just said, bye-bye, summer. It's about to hit. And once Erin moves further away, it opens the door for Canadian air to come in. Some of you are like, yay, I think the Denmarks and the Kim Thompson-Jones are thrilled. We're going to get some cooler air. That's the payoff. That's the silver lining in all this, but we got to get through this. First things first, we got a nasty day today for the Eastern Shore. My heart breaks for you. We are also going to get nasty weather for many areas along the coastline for the next 2 days. This is a prolonged 2-day event, Wednesday and Thursday being worse than Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be bad in some cases. This represents 1 o'clock in the morning Friday, and then you take it a little bit further. What about wave heights? They could easily be down toward Hatteras, could be approaching 15 to 20. I mean, it's insane. And some of these wave heights, again, might be underestimated. But this represents about 1 in the afternoon on a Thursday afternoon. It's 15 feet there north of Rodanthe. Some of those waves heights are going to be also a big concern for flooding. So the flooding concern may not be all that's coming down from the sky, but it could be very well the fact that it's these little tidal waterways and shorelines and low-lying areas that get affected the most. Now, as I said, if it only moves according to the track the Hurricane Center has, then maybe it only goes this far. But if it goes like this, then people say, that's a game changer. I wish I had known. What could I do? You're running out of time because you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. Sometimes we talk about that. We've been talking about this for almost 48 episodes now. This is my 48th episode of doing it, what I call an experiment, where we can kind of give you more weather information in detail than I could normally do in a 3-minute weathercast. So coastal flooding, and I've only been here 6 months, not even. the coastal flooding is a big deal in some parts of our region. And so if you're empowered with this information, hopefully you can take the necessary actions. High surf advisories are also in effect. Give me the times, Aldrich, right here. Starts at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And it lasts 2 days till 6 a.m. on Friday, where large breaking waves down in Hatteras and Ocracoke, they're going to have waves about 15 to 20 feet. That's pretty high. Maybe in Virginia Beach, it's closer to the 8 to 12 we were talking about. So it really depends on location, location, location. And we know that this storm is going to pivot. It's going to pivot with an inflection point where we're going to hit harder the Outer Banks and probably lesser extent Virginia Beach. But maybe it's just not a big deal for Ahoskie or Franklin. You got to stay tuned because these things can change. Now, the latest Erin enhanced radar picture shows this storm is not the same monster it was at the start of the weekend. Because Saturday it got declared 11:20. We had this discussion with Dr. Michael Brennan. It became a Category 5 back around 11:20 a.m. on Saturday. So I had taken note that from 5 p.m. Friday to 5 p.m. Saturday, it had dropped 78 millibars, which is huge. But he had said because we have reconnaissance aircraft, we fly airplanes into the storms, we have more intel. And I was jealous. I said, you got more information than any time in human history. And he agreed that that was a fair statement. But he actually said it was 5 millibars even more than what was put out in the posts. So it was 83 millibars dropped in 24 hours. That's a sharp drop. But now that because it's so wide, it's an unusually large storm, as you can see here, it's going to have some far reach. So that's why we have a constant changing of up expectations. Here's the cone as it stands now. This can do more harm than good if you don't understand what you're looking at. Miles Henderson, had the forethought of mentioning this on the air yesterday morning and at noon, that this is the center of the storm, right? This is where we have a storm that's going to be weakening as it heads up here, but it's going to have, as it pushes all that energy into Hampton Roads and into the tidal flooding, pushes it all into the Outer Banks, it may very well really disrupt the week. And you're like, I wish this isn't the way August had to end, but in some cases, we've been lucky thus far, right? This now has winds of 105 and gusting to 125. So 105 is a Category 2, but we've got gusts of 125. You need a 111 to be a Category 3. So it's got Category 3 gusts, but technically it's still a Category 2. Got some other comments that might be coming in. Let's see here. Chanel Knight has a question. I hope that, sometimes these questions I get, Chanel, I don't have all the answers. I'm just doing my best. And if I don't have the answer, I'll look it up and see what I can. But you said I monitor Merrimack to Newport News, Virginia for work. Will the winds be safe to cross the bridge? Would a 60 mile or 50 mile or 40 mile an hour gust, 2 hands on the steering wheel, it's going to be more challenging. I will say that. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but you throw in normal traffic, even on a good traffic day, if the weather's nice, you throw in this element, it might be a little dicey. So just, I don't know, everybody has a different threshold, what they're willing to do, what kind of weather they're willing to go out. I've had phone calls in my career, someone wanted to go to the pharmacy, that's all she wanted to do. And she didn't want to leave the house because when I was in Rochester, she said, I heard we have a heat advisory. And she said, I don't even know what that means. I said, ma'am, it just means it's going to be hot. And she said, oh, is that all? So I'll go to the pharmacy. Do you see what I mean? The way we interpret information is completely different. We're all different type. We're wired differently. So my advice to you, Chanel, is take it easy if you have to be on the roads on Thursday, just because of the winds and the fact that people are going to be driving around maybe in a bit of a panic, especially if they see rising water due to tidal flooding. So that's where things are. All right, so here's the cone. We're going to keep moving. And I said we're only about 100 miles or so from margin of error. We'll see how close this thing gets. And one of the models that seemingly pushes this closer to the Outer Banks is this European model. This is an operational model, but it does bring it very, very close, as you can see here, right across Hatteras and Rodanthe, as well as Ocracoke. That's about 4:30 in the morning on Thursday. Now, if you're new to this platform and you're not sure where you're getting 4:30, well, that's up here in the upper right. And the bands, because they're rotating counterclockwise. They're rotating in this counterclockwise fashion. The intensity is just where you see the orange, right? The nasty winds of 125 gusts are in this part of the eye wall, but the storm is eventually going to push this way. But I mean, it's kind of like you don't have to get hit. Maybe this is a bad example. Tell me if it kind of resonates with you, because I'm just trying every which way to communicate. It's kind of like I don't have to get hit by a car, but they could go, and you just like, oh my gosh, what was that? Like, or a bus, if a bus goes by and you feel the effects, the wind, it's one of those things. And if some of the Outer Banks actually get grazed by this particular storm, then they're going to say, I wish, or I'm glad that I actually evacuated. And we're really glad people have been, much to their credit. But for those who are just like, I've been here all my life and I've been through every storm. Well, you haven't been through this storm, right? You haven't been through this storm. This storm could be that storm where you're like, I've had enough. And it's after the storm that things cause problems, right? You lose power. If you lose power with a 65 mile an hour wind down in the Outer Banks, maybe that's the breaking point, because we don't want you to, maybe people get up on a ladder, then they hurt themselves, they get hurt, or they get injured, or we have people dying after the storm, is what Dr. Michael Brennan told us last night. It happens more commonly than people think. The chainsaws or the power lines are down. It's not smart. If you can evacuate at this point, I would recommend you follow the advice of your local townships, and these towns have been doing their best to get that word out. All right, so back to this storm. Where does it go from 4:30 in the morning? Great question. As we move it a little bit further to 11 a.m., this is why Thursday's just like, forget about it. Once we get the winds out of the way, now you're bringing in this strong wind and the flooding that's coming down from the north and east. This is what I was talking about, the potential for sound side flooding on a north to northeast wind. So down east, Ocracoke and Hatteras Island, Thursday into Friday, all this is going to be coming downside, sound side flooding that's going to be causing problems. And it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much. And if it jogs a little bit further west, then there's like, you mean that could happen? That could happen. That's why I say it's very important that you, if you know family members that are little skittish when the weather's bad, I can't tell you, Thursday morning is going to be really rough for a lot of hosts along the Outer Banks and Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach. Maybe not so much if you're in Wakefield or if you're in Franklin, but by the time we hit 1 o'clock on Friday, it's still pretty gusty here. Now, not to alarm anybody, but just to give you an update, the National Hurricane Center has two areas that they're watching. This X marks the spot, has a 60% chance of getting the name Ferdinand. Fear not Ferdinand. This will likely move in the path of what is Erin, and it could very well not have the warm water associated with it because she took all the oxygen out of the room. This storm might have a hard time getting its act together. Certainly it could form, but I don't think it's going to have as big of an impact as clearly that we've seen Erin, and another one that has a 30% chance. So we're just working down the list. And if this is like alarming to you, then you really haven't seen what I'm about to show you coming up, which is the fact that this is the time of year we usually see a lot of activity in the tropics. We had a Category 5 Erin over the weekend. She's now a Category 2, but we like to put on this map to keep track that we had 4 tropical storms, Andrea, Barry, Chantal, and Dexter, but Erin is the storm that we have now. Of course, we have Ferdinand, which may form a 60% chance soon, and it could be followed up by Gabrielle. So we're still early in the process. And typically, based on history, we typically see a lot of this happen during this time. It usually ramps up around Labor Day, and the last I checked, it's not September yet, but September 10th is when the activity peaks. And without fail, because I've done this for 25 years, there's always somebody who says, this is alarming. Why are we getting so much of it? It's based on history, right? You've had all summer long for the oceans to warm up, and they come alive to the sound of warmth in some cases. But this is what we're dealing with. And think about it, as I clear off the telestrator, we're going to be dealing with more storms once we say goodbye to Erin. Now, maybe some of these storms stay out to sea. That'd be great. It's not saying that everyone's going to come toward the U.S., but we have to watch this all the same. If you're on the call, let me know. I'm going to keep moving, but I want to share your thoughts and maybe magnify a voice that hasn't been heard yet on this live stream. I got some Becky Thomas comments. I got Martha McLam. Let's see here. I got a note from Martha. Let me put a note in here. We're looking at the radar now. And she has asked, as I put her telestrated note here on the screen, she says, if there is or are 5 to 8 foot waves, how far inland should the water get in Virginia Beach? Well, again, it's going to depend on several factors. If you're new to the area, you could tell me, or if you've been here a long time, you could inform me, how far does water usually travel when you get flooding? Like I said, I'm still pointing to my reference, which is Ghent here in Norfolk. It's an area that typically floods with a ½ inch to an inch of rain. You'll see a big puddle form in parts of our city here. But if you're dealing with surf that's in that range, we're talking 1 to 3 feet as far as inundation. I'm talking about areas that are specifically along the shorelines. The shorelines will be the biggest concern, and the tidal waterways, the low-lying areas, if that makes any sense, Martha. But thank you for asking. As we already mentioned, Exmoor, Eastern Shore got hammered this morning with close to 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 inches of rain, and they had to shut down Route 13 for a while. So this obviously is a great concern. But if these storm systems come in like it is, it's going to have to interact with this front, right? And it could enhance the rain factor that a lot of the models don't show. But once we get this front that's coming down from Chicago, that's coming down in from Illinois and Indiana, that's some Canadian air, my friend. And some of you are going to be like, hot dog. I really like the fact it's cool. I really like the fact that it's not sticky at all. Glad that it is. Now, if you remember last month, how many of you, by a show of comments, how many of you remember how humid it was in July? We had only 12 days, which, I mean, the average is like 15, but we averaged 15. We had 12 days in the 90s, but it seemed like every day, like 89, it felt like 102. Like 88, it felt like 102. It was hot and humid. These hot, humid days just happened all at once in July. Now, today was only 82. If you were outside today, you had to dodge some rain, obviously, but the record is 96. And I just wanted to share with you, if you look at where we are now, we've had a measly two 90-degree days. The last one was on Sunday, and 16 days is normal for this time of year. I don't know if I've shared with you, but we are maybe getting hungry. It's about 8:16. If you are wanting to participate in our contest, we would love to give you some free pizza. Do you know how hard it is to give away free pizza? Some people think there's strings attached, and trust me, there are no strings attached. It takes you about a minute, 2 minutes to fill in your name and put your address so we can mail you a certificate. We've been giving away literally hundreds of free pizzas since May 19th, because some are getting 12 pizzas if they win it for a year. Some are getting individual pizzas, like we've given away 22 pizzas, I think, last Thursday. Yeah, we do that every Thursday because someone gets 11 winners, someone gets 12, and then some get individual. But anyway, the $5 Pozzoli is another favorite item of mine. Maybe you want to check it out. Go to marcos.com and type in the promo code WTKR David. One of my favorites is the pepperoni and sausage. If you've ever had a calzone or a stromboli, then you get a sense of what this is like. The pizza certificate that we'll be issuing out, it's the big winner of the week, will come in on Thursday, and we'll kind of put it at the top of the hour. Usually at 8 o'clock is when we'll announce the winners on Thursday for the winner. And don't forget also, we want to thank you for participating, and hopefully we can satisfy your appetite with Marcos, because again, they were very big believers in this project, this experiment, very early on, and they get it. They understand how important weather is to this community. So I'm going back to the weather segment here, and just to highlight, 82 was the high. This is the glorious slide I've been saving. So for all of you, you saved the best for last, Aldrich. Yeah, maybe I did. August 26th through September 2nd, almost approaching Labor Day, there's going to be an unusually large area of Canadian air right across the heartland and feeling cool in Hampton Roads and the Outer Banks. The center of that chill looks like it's over Illinois and Indiana and the Ohio River Valley. But even still, I can tell you this, it's going to be very, very hard to get to 90 going into the last week of August. Some of you are like, yay, now you're speaking my language. Weather languages, right? This is actually the payoff. But we got to get through the next 2 days. As I said, this is going to be a prolonged 48-hour event that I'm convinced is going to be a lot worse than some people would think. They're going, I didn't know it's going to be this bad. Then I'm not doing my job if I'm not using this platform to tell you, I think it's going to be rough. I think, have we been through worse? Yes. I don't care where you're from. You've probably been through worse than what we're going to experience. But even still, if you think this is going to be a cakewalk, think again. I think there's going to be a lot more surprises associated with Erin that some would say, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see fill in the blank. We've talked about it. High surf, coastal flooding, dangerous rip currents. All that is on the table. Now, as far as the Virginia Beach oceanfront, we have our maps all goofied up. That is actually Norfolk. My banner is wrong, but I can tell you we're in the mid-70s right now. 75 in Chesapeake, 79 in Elizabeth City, and the temperature changes about 4 degrees cooler in Norfolk now than it was this time yesterday. Another look at the headlines. Effects of rain, effects of Erin, west coastal flooding, dangerous surf. Best storm chances will come in on Thursday, which will be the exceptionally windy day, and that will likely start midnight tomorrow night. So like 12 a.m. Thursday, right through 8 a.m. Thursday, right through 12 noon on Thursday. What time on Thursday? The whole day is going to be pretty windy. And then you're going to have more flooding as the storm begins to pivot. It's going to pivot just like Ross Geller does in Friends. Pivot, it's going to pivot and head to the northeast, and suddenly cooler, less humid comes in air after it's gone. All right, so as far as our military, I like to use this map to highlight if you're homesick, what's going on back home. I don't know where home is for you, but I like to highlight where the bad spots are with severe weather. Looks like a lot of severe weather in orange in Oklahoma. Some areas it looks like in Arkansas. Maybe you have family in Arkansas. We're over here toward Fayetteville, and they have Benton, Washington until 8 o'clock. Severe thunderstorm warning for till 7:30. So some severe weather is breaking out over here with some potential hail. In Tennessee, it looks like it's in West Tennessee. They got some downpours near Jackson. Come back toward Knoxville, where I lived for 15 years and raised my 2 girls with my wife, where Knoxville looks like it's drying out. They've had some rain. And we move back further toward the eastern shore, which has really been plagued, and I mean plagued, with rain today. And it seemingly does not want, it's like it's dancing in place in some communities up toward Exmoor. So please be extra careful, because as I'm trying to tell you with this platform, it's likely to get worse before it gets better. Now, if you have storm anxiety, if you have someone in your family that suffers from storm anxiety, doesn't matter what storm, we'll get through this. I can reassure you, we're a hardy bunch, but we're even a better bunch if we pull together in our neighborhoods. If we pull together in our communities, there's just nothing we can't do. You just got to look out after each other. It's like, hey, I'm new to the area. Is there an evacuation route that I'm not familiar with? Somebody in your neighborhood has that wisdom. You can ask them. Say, hey, this is my first hurricane. I don't want to panic, but I just want to make sure I got my emergency kit. I got some, maybe some protein bars, some water, and a change of clothes, all that kind of stuff. It's a good idea. First aid kit. Somebody might need that. You never know. Especially winds and trees coming down, there could be some issues moving forward. Low temperatures today, because I take notes. We had a low of 75 degrees that occurred at 7:54 this morning, and we had a high temperature in Norfolk of 82 that occurred at 1:48 this afternoon. Had a high of Franklin, 81, high of Elizabeth City, 85, Manteo hit 85, and dew points are still very tropical. Not unheard of given the fact we have an approaching hurricane. We have a tropical storm force winds. We're going to see these dew points go up before they go back down. We're actually considerably dropping from where we were 24 hours ago, but the eastern shore has been the recipient of some very nasty rain in the last 18 hours. Now, what does the dew point mean? When it's 75, it's off the chart. But the good news is I got a chart that will show you it will be dropping. So if it's 55 in New York, but 74 Hatteras, where do you think it's more humid? It's humid here. And it's very comfortable here. I would imagine some of this white area here in the upstate New York area, they're probably in the 40s. The dew points are going to fall. Temperature right now in Knoxville is at 90 as I'm looking at this, and it's 76 in Virginia Beach. We've had some rain. As I mentioned, we had Norfolk Tide's minor league baseball game postponed tonight because of the rain. Becky Thomas is on here. I'm going to say hi to her. Becky, how are you? She says, if I have this right, I'm reading your comment. She says, thank you for your honesty. Of course. Now tell me, given the fact I've been going on for, 30, 35, 40 minutes, I couldn't fit this information in a 3-minute weathercast. I know we like to watch TV. I'm here to serve you on TV. I love TV. That's my first love. But I've been doing this live streaming stuff for 6 years now when I had a platform in Knoxville and East Tennessee. But when I came here, and I had a previous relationship with Marco, so that's why there was a connection that was easy to make. But having this honesty thing, I mean, all cards are on the table. I was a kid, I used to get scared by thunder really bad when I was like 5 or 6, and sometimes that sticks with you. But then I got all excited when it was going to snow and I could have my school canceled because of snowstorms. Many of us know what it was like back in February 19th here, because you had 10, 12 inches of snow. It's just one of the things that some people have that reaction. They were like, I'll believe it when I see it, and that's going on right now. When we say there's going to be a 2-day event, there are some people with their arms crossed, kind of like, I've seen the cone. I'll believe it when I see it. It's out there. They're making this up to be bigger than it is. It's not going to be a big deal if you're in Wakefield or Emporia. But if you're along the coast, that's what I'm trying to articulate. It could be worse than some might think. And that's why I say, because it could jog. This storm has been a little erratic with the rapid intensification. We'll see what happens. That's all I wanted to point out. But I am very grateful for you to watch, because like I said, I got to finish up in a reasonable time here. It's now about 8:22-ish. My clock is a little fast. If you're in the military, you might find it interesting what temperatures they are around the country. I want you to notice this. Do you see how green this is? Even blue? Not only is that autumnal, not only is that a capital FALL, fall-like weather, but that's coming. And I just showed you the Climate Prediction Center maps that take you through September 2nd. It's going to be super cool in this part of the country, while it's super hot right now. 105 in Vegas, 107 in Phoenix. So very hot weather, but all this is going to change. We just have to say goodbye to Erin. We just have to say goodbye to Erin. We got to get through it. We got to work together in the community, working together in the neighborhood. It's really not hard, but that's why I kept saying for the last, 47 episodes. Got to learn our neighbors' names. You don't have to invite them over for dessert, but you can at least say, hey, you good? But during the heat wave, I was like, you got good air conditioning? It's great, thanks, icy cold. And then move on. Just make sure everybody's okay, because that's how we get through all this. So I mentioned this, below normal temperatures, it's coming. Just put, if there's no other map that you want to focus on that. It might give you a little bit of comfort. And this is a great map. This is the 10-day forecast. So you tell me, do you see some cool colors coming down from Canada? I mean, you don't need to be a meteorologist to see this. It's like, whoa, look how cool. It's yellow, David. It's yellow and green. It's so cool. I mean, you're going to be like in places like Minnesota, they might not get out of the 60s, but for us, we might be able to say, you know what's cool? We're like in the 70s, mid-70s. Mid-70s would be great. Some people are like, and no humidity. That's like room temperature. Every room is room temperature, whatever you set the temperature at. But this is what I'm saying. You have this to look forward to. But we got to get through the next couple of days. All right, 85 tomorrow, 81 Thursday, 78 Friday. Look how cool that is. But the humidity and the winds are going to be on the humidity will decrease, the winds will slow down, but it might take a day or two. And this is a real telltale. Look at this. Looky. 63 on Saturday. If I'm not mistaken, that's pleasant. That's pleasant. We spent most of July in the miserable territory. Miserable 100%. And it's still going to be pretty sticky even the next 2 days because, well, tropical systems have humidity. It's kind of part of the equation. It's part of the territory. Rain chances, I think, could spike Thursday, especially with the bands. If it jogs a little further, maybe it jogs 25 miles to the west. That would be a concern. So just be better safe than sorry. But I have a zero chance of rain on Friday and Saturday. So that's at least a benefit, especially if cleanup is part of the equation. Now, what about the rain that falls from the sky? That was the original question I think that came down. How much rain are we going to get? Probably very little, based on the traditional modeling, which is an average. I'm going to put this into AVG, average. This suggests we get maybe under an inch in the Outer Banks, but hardly much, if anything. 2/10 an inch, or 2/10 and a tenth of an inch there in inland North Carolina. So the inland parts of our states are going to get far less. And this, again, will have locally higher amounts because, to be honest with you, these things have limitations. They don't do well with tropical systems. You're asking, that's above its pay grade. They're looking for the convective systems that come in from the west. You throw in something from the east and it's like, you're asking too much for this to give you a true accurate picture. But we are hopeful that we'll get through this. We are knowledgeable that we'll get through this, but we just want to make sure everybody knows what to expect, which is probably a little bit of the unexpected in the short term, meaning Wednesday, Thursday. Speaking of tomorrow, the Eastern Shore, high UV index about 83 for Bloxham, 84 for Onancock. Exmoor, just about a 20% chance of rain. I know what you're probably thinking, yeah, famous last words, we got inundated today. Don't think you're going to find as much rain. We'll look at the futurecast to see if I can back that up. If that's a check I can cash. 83 in Cape Charles. We head back to the Outer Banks, where we have at least the southern Outer Banks, many areas in the evacuation of Ocracoke and Hatteras. But if you're in Kill Devil Hills, about 83. Manio about 83 with a 30% chance of rain, and we still have mid-80s expected for Ocracoke and Hatteras, and Rodanthe at 84. Storm Prediction Center, we show this quite a bit. The risk categories associated with severe thunderstorms. So this is more a national perspective because some of you might have family in different parts of the country. Montana, between now and tomorrow morning, Great Falls, Missoula could have some isolated severe storms. If you're concerned about them, the green areas from the Storm Prediction Center highlight Oklahoma City, just north of Memphis. We will include Little Rock and Louisville, Kentucky. They might get some isolated severe storms between now and tomorrow morning. So it's really just kind of a bird's eye view of where there's a possibility. But really, not a whole lot to show you Wednesday. In fact, I mean, maybe they ran out of the green crayon because you got to go up to North Dakota, Williston, and Minot to find some areas for some severe weather tomorrow. Really quiet. So it's really not a severe thunderstorm situation as we are just waiting for Erin to advance further north. Meanwhile, the severe weather threat on Thursday expands into Minnesota and Fargo and Aberdeen, but really beyond that, that's not at least in the crosshairs. So we're not expecting necessarily tornadoes, although never say never, there could always be a stray, but the chance of getting tornadoes from Erin seems very unlikely at this time. The chance of that is pretty slim. Meanwhile, the futurecast, look at this, right? We've got, as I come back on camera, we have rain that's over Exmoor now. It's trying to get out of by 11 o'clock. But what about, say, tomorrow morning? Oh, there you go, 20% chance. We've got a little shower, right? That's 7 a.m. Can we get it out of the eastern shore by midday? Well, it looks like it's a little improved, maybe not perfect, but there could be a few drops in around Williamsburg and maybe in Norfolk. Possibility around Isle of Wight, maybe a few drops of rain that come through, but it looks like by 5 o'clock it's dry. So I don't expect the deluge. I don't expect the crazy rainy situation in Exmoor, but of course I'll be streaming tomorrow, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat some crow. But I don't want you to be worried about tomorrow's rains. It's really going to be once these winds pick up midnight Thursday morning. That's when we're going to see a lot more clouds. And again, these models they're great, but they don't handle systems coming from the east, and they don't handle systems from the east that are tropical. But one thing you should see is this. That's a sustained wind. That's not a gust. That's sustained at 25 from the north. So if you're in a flood-prone area, and we were talking just a moment ago about what you could possibly see in these prone areas, is that once these things start happening with that northeast wind, the potential for sound side flooding is really going to be pushing the water in some of these areas, and that could really pile up and cause some issues moving forward. All right, let's talk about the forecast. Got to wrap it up here. It's about 8:30. Wednesday morning, 74, 73 Peninsula, 74 North Carolina. I went a little bit long because I wanted to really cover as much as I could about this storm so we could clear and I'll take some questions too. 70 in Smithfield, low temperature by morning, 68 Cortland, about 67 Murfreesboro, and 70 for Melfa by tomorrow morning. Now, Wednesday afternoon, mid-80s, probably more likely with a 30% chance of showers and storms. It's not going to be everywhere, but if you're in Hampton, look for a high of 85. If you're in Williamsburg, 85, 86 for Elizabeth City, Virginia Beach, and Duck, about 82. I have us at 85 for Norfolk, and 87 for Gatesville, 86 for Hertford in North Carolina, while Moyock about 85. Here's your first warning, WTKR News 3 7-day forecast. So 81 on Thursday. That's the main event, although tomorrow's not a picnic. Less humid on Friday. That's a slow recovery for cleanup. Less humid, lots of sunshine, but still very gusty. And then more comfortable on Saturday. You say, where did you get that adjective? Because our lows are in the 60s. I mean, our dew points could be in the low 60s. It could be really good on Saturday. But again, if you have no power, or if a tree have fallen in places that you didn't know you had trees falling on places, like I said, you've got to watch out and to be mindful that a lot can change. 84 on Sunday, 84 on Monday, and then 79 on Tuesday. I want to remind you some happy shots from Marvin Barnes, the Yorktown Riverwalk Landing, all about love. Love the fact that you should take that for us. And then Mill Creek Sunrise. This comes by way of Brian Talley at Phoebus, and then in Hampton Sunrise, we had a Monday sunrise from William Wood sharing that beautiful picture with us. So there are happy things that things will get better eventually. We'll just have to get through this particular week. Let me check in with your comments. I'm seeing there could be some new ones. I see Becky, she's following up. She's having a great conversation with me. She's bring on the polar vortex. We're maybe not quite there yet, but I'll take a little bit of a fresh breeze from Canada in August anytime. But thank you very much, Becky. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Storm surge. Yes, Judy, we talked about that at the beginning of this live stream. We talked about there's a storm surge warning and that this could bring in anywhere from 1 to 3 feet, typically above. We talked about the bays and things, so you have to go back and watch the beginning of this stream, which will live on in Facebook in the coming hours. I got one other note we'll end with. Chanel Knight says, I believe she says, yay, she loves it. So one of the other things I love is our friend at Marco's Pizzas, the fact that they've been so nice to give away free pizza. They're going to be giving away a certificate if you simply go to WTKR.com/Marcos, takes a minute or two. And if you have registered before, there's no need to register again. There are 5 locations. The one that's actually in South Battlefield will open up, I'm told, in September, most likely. And it's just across the street and down a ways from the Great Bridge Middle School. So there's a Marco's Pizza about to develop a new one, so we'll have 6 soon, 2 in Chesapeake. David's favorite item, my Pozzoli. I might get one of this for comfort food tonight so that I'll have it to make me snack on it during the course of tonight or tomorrow. But using the promo code WTKR David is a great way to get half off. The Pozzoli, roughly half off, but the pizza for a year certificate looks like this. They're giving away 1 large, 1 topping pizza, and since we're in August, they use it like a punch card, so you'll get 12 months, which is 12 pizzas really, in the future if you're a winner. So hopefully you'll be the winner this Thursday night. Pozzoli, Magnifico, and want to thank you for all the time that you've shared with me. So again, just remind you, if you have and suffer, and I have at times when I was very little, and I know that you might have kids that get a little bit nervous, just know that it's going to be okay. We're a hardy bunch. We've been through this before. Some of you have been through this a lot. I've been through countless. I went through Helene last September, and I was in Knoxville. So how does that work? Well, look at a map. It hit western North Carolina, and then it took out I-40 in Tennessee. It was rough. But I can tell you, we get through those things too, as long as we look out after each other. And just remind you that it doesn't matter if the weather is sunny, doesn't matter if it's serious or there's an approaching hurricane. Every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. So make the most of it in your neighborhood. We'll see you here tomorrow. Take care.